Okay, we are recording.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Ann Steiber. I've been designated the hearing officer by DC Commissioner Michelle Siegel. Also present is Commissioner Laura Cahill. And we are here for a remonstrance in the matter of Vincent Gianetto, permittee, Hawk Ridge Winery, 28 Plunges Road, Watertown, permit number LCR 00000IP. And this is on, again, a remonstrance in accordance with section 30-39C of the Connecticut General Statutes, and it concerns a new application. Before I ask everyone to identify themselves and be sworn in, I just want to go over a little housekeeping. First of all, I want to explain how we're going to proceed. Attorney Anderson, who represents the DCP, will speak first and present any witnesses if she has them. Then we will proceed with the agent for the remonstrance, and then lastly with the permittee. We do ask everyone to speak clearly and one at a time, as this hearing is being recorded. Please keep your video cameras on now that we all have them. If exhibits that were sent in prior to the hearing will not be considered unless they are entered during the hearing. To enter an exhibit, the submitting party must reference the document and inform the commission they are entering the exhibit into the record. And lastly, if you have any technology issues during the hearing, you can call 860-840-2075 for assistance. At this point, I will ask everyone to identify themselves. First, I will ask the agent for the remonstrance if he could identify himself for the record.
Hi, my name is Raymond Leach, 6 Munson Road, Watertown, Connecticut.
Okay, Attorney Stevens, I believe you represent the permittee, is that correct? You're on mute. Can you?
There you go.
I think it came off. I apologize for that. That's correct. I do represent the permittee.
Okay. And if everyone else could identify themselves, Phil Cola, please identify yourself.
Special Agent Phil Cola, Department of Consumer Protection, Liquor Control Division.
Michelle McHugh.
Michelle McHugh, owner, Hawk Ridge Winery, 28 Plunges Road, Watertown.
And is it Autumn Elmazi? No?
Yes, Autumn Elmazi, General Manager, Hawk Ridge Winery.
Okay, did I miss it? Oh, and Attorney Anderson?
Hi, Caitlin Anderson, Staff Attorney, Department of Consumer Protection. I think we have one more person who is showing up as Vin SKJ Enterprises.
Yeah, I am the permittee and one of the owners of Hawk Ridge Winery, Vincent Gianetto, 38 Breezy Knoll Drive in Watertown.
Okay, thank you. I will now ask that all those who will be testifying today to raise their right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you are about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. As I said previously, I will now turn this matter over to Attorney Anderson. Attorney Anderson?
As a matter of housekeeping, would you like me to enter the notice and particulars for today's hearing?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Just 1 second. All right, I will do a screen share for that. Okay, you should now be able to see the notice and particulars for today's hearing. I'd like to move that entered as Commission Exhibit A.
It is Commission Exhibit A.
Okay. All right. And I would like to proceed with Special Agent Philip Cola, please. Good morning, Agent.
Morning.
Could you please state your name, title, and business address?
Special Agent Phil Cola, Department of Consumer Protection, 450 Columbus Boulevard, Hartford, Connecticut.
How long have you been with Liquor Control?
Approximately 27 years.
Is part of your job to review remonstrances on new applications?
Yes, it is.
Did you review the remonstrance filed regarding Hawk Ridge Winery?
Yes, I did.
Did you verify that this was a legally valid remonstrance signed by 10 persons in the town as required?
Yes, I did.
And was this remonstrance timely received?
Yes, it was.
Was this remonstrance on a new application, a removal or renewal?
New application for a Connecticut Craft Cafe permit.
Can you briefly explain what a Connecticut Craft Cafe permit is?
Connecticut Craft Cafe permit allows manufacturers to purchase additional types of alcohol from other Connecticut producers. The winery would be able to buy from a distillery or from a brewery beer products or distilled products.
So it would allow the holder of an existing permit to purchase additional types of alcohol.
Correct. Right. Currently, they're limited to the wine that they produce.
And that's because they're operating with a farm winery permit?
Correct. Yes.
Do you know when that permit was first issued?
The farm winery?
Yes.
Yes, that was first issued June of 2017.
And to your knowledge, were there any enforcement issues to date against the farm winery permit?
There was one case filed back in August of 2017. A police referral was submitted regarding a sale to an intox, but they were unable to sustain that charge.
So there was no formal enforcement action by the department pertaining
Correct.
to that complaint?
Yes.
So can you briefly explain the substance of the concerns raised by the remonstrants in their petition?
The remonstrants are mostly concerned with the fact that the new license will produce more noise and that they were originally focused on wine production and looks like they are morphing into more of a bar type entertainment complex. And part of their complaint is that the zoning that was originally approved for this location was for a winery production and bottling premises and not for what it has become as far as an entertainment venue.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to share my screen again for 1 second. Okay, can you see the document on my screen?
Yes,
And can you identify this document?
that's the remonstrance filed.
Okay, that's a complete and true copy to your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like that entered as Commission Exhibit B.
It will be so marked as Commission Exhibit B.
And I do have one more document for you to identify Agent Cola, if you can bear with me for 1 second. Did you write a report detailing your review of the remonstrance petition and your involvement in reviewing it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Right, can you see the document on my screen?
Yes,
And can you identify this document?
that's the LC-18 filed for the remonstrance.
So that's your report?
Yes.
Right, I'd like that entered as Commission Exhibit C.
Okay, that will be marked as Exhibit C.
All right. And Special Agent Cola, aside from the remonstrance, are there any other issues preventing the final approval of the Connecticut Craft Cafe permit?
There were no other department issues stopping the permit from being issued.
Thank you. I have no additional questions for the agent.
Okay, Mr. Leach, do you have any questions specific to Mr. Cola?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Attorney Stevens, do you have any questions for Agent Cola?
I do have a few.
Okay,
Good afternoon, Agent Cola. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
As part of your review of this matter, does your review also include a review of the application itself that's been submitted for the Connecticut Craft Cafe permit?
Yes, the new application that was submitted, that's part of my duties, yes.
All right, and Madam Chair, one of the exhibits I've submitted was the first 3 pages of the application. May I have that marked, please?
I will pull it up. Would you like him to identify it, I'm assuming?
Yes, please. Agent Cola, are you able to see the document that's been put in front of you?
Yes, I do.
And am I correct that that is the first 3 pages of the application that is the subject of today's hearing?
Yes, it is.
All right, may I have that marked, please?
It will mark that as Respondent Exhibit 1.
Thank you. Agent Cola, with respect to the application, based on your prior testimony, is it a fair statement that based on your training experience and your job position that the application itself appears to be in order?
It does appear to be in order, correct?
And am I correct that on page 1 of this item, Attorney Anderson, I think we've marked this as permittee 1?
Respondent Exhibit 1, yes.
Respondent 1. Am I correct that on page 1 of Respondent's Exhibit 1, all of the appropriate local signatures have been submitted, thereby indicating that this application has passed muster with local authorities?
Correct. They all appear to be properly signed.
All right, thank you very much, Agent Cola. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Agent Cola.
The department has no additional witnesses.
Okay, Mr. Leach, you are the agent for the remonstrance, so now I will turn it over to you. You can provide any testimony or evidence you wish, and if you have any witnesses that you would like to call, you can do that at this time as well.
Thank you. I'd like to read something. Okay, my name's Raymond Leach, 6 Munson Road, Watertown. Been a resident here for 24 years. I'd like to thank the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection and Liquor Control Division for bringing us together today to hear the ongoing concerns. I am here on behalf of the community of neighbors surrounding Hawkridge Winery LLC. We are here to request the DCPI Liquor Control Commission to reject any and all changes to the current Hawkridge Winery LLC liquor permit. The current permit stated in the Town of Watertown zoning approval in 16 includes only beer and wine. Anything other than beer and wine should be rejected. Therefore, the application for DCP Connecticut craft liquor permit needs to be rejected, in our opinion. Throughout petitioning and numerous noise complaints, we, the neighbors of Hawkridge Winery LLC, have presented an intense displeasure and concern with the proceedings and actions of the winery. The winery has continued to show disrespect of all the neighbors with their unwillingness to change, modify, and their inconsiderate actions with an overload of loud amplified music emanating from the entertainment venue they have created at the winery. If an increase of liquor spirits is awarded through the care liquor permit, the volume of patrons will increase both in number and in sound, and the traffic will continue to increase, which will continue to decrease our quality of life in our neighborhoods. Awarding the liquor permit would continue to transform this venue from a winery to a bar-based entertainment venue. This has historically been a very quiet section of town. By living in this area of town, we should be assured that we can continue to live in an environment free from excessive noise. This excessive noise is not only degrading our quality of life, but our property values. We realize the noise is not the problem of the DC liquor control permit, but in addition of the liquor would increase this noise. We have sent repeated calls, emails to decrease the volume as the neighborhoods of Hawkridge Winery has made no responsible change in regards to any of our requests. We have been tolerant, but do not want to continue to see this type of non-compliance, lack of collaboration as a community. Premise that the winery says they have acoustic single-person musicians is unrealistic. Some of us live 1,200 feet away, and most of the entertainment is playing. The words in the songs are clear and defined and loud. The permittee has been repeated violations of the Watertown zoning regulations 28.2 regarding noise, the worst instances being in the past summer. The only decibel test we are aware of is taken on November 7, 2020, during a subdued performance at the winery. Reports state that no sound level went above 70 decibels and thus did not pass the threshold of 80. Limits stated in the zoning regulations. A subdued performance that reached 68 in an off-season performance at the winery clearly indicates that the loud performances of the summer season easily were above the limited value. Another thing that we have discovered upon petitioning, and some of the neighbors were resistant, fearful of retaliation from the zoning office if they signed the petition. The reason they felt this way is Mr. Gianetto, who's the owner of Hawk Ridge, is on the Watertown Zoning Board of Appeals. They felt that if they signed, they would be retaliated from zoning board on their future project requests. This demonstrates a large bias and large conflict of interest. To summarize, we reject this position for a cafe liquor permit to include hard alcohol and would like Hawk Ridge Winery to remain a beer and wine only. Doing this would keep both the volume of customers, volume of sound, volume of traffic to a minimum, as is not to degrade our quality of life and neighborhoods surrounding Hawk Ridge Winery. If approved, this liquor permit will create additional noise and detrimental effects to the neighbors due to the increased traffic and occupancy both inside and outside of the building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leach. Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions for Mr. Leach?
Could you kindly describe, have you been on the phone with the Hawk Ridge Winery owners or managers about the noise? I mean, can you give me a little bit more description about your efforts to
Most of those are emails, and we do have an exhibit that shows the emails in your possession there.
I do have an exhibit with that was submitted for a chat, is like a chat bubbles. Is that what you're referencing, Mr. Leach?
Right. There's emails back and forth from the winery.
Let me pull that up.
Early on, I have personally talked to Jack McHugh myself. He actually came down here and listened one day and was amazed at the sound.
Okay, is this what you were referring to, sir?
Yes.
Okay, we will mark that as remonstrance exhibit 1. Mr. Leach, do you have any other exhibits?
There's a few there with the loud music, amplified music. There's a video of that,
Would you like me to pull up the video?
if you don't mind.
A second.
Madam Chair, may I just interject an objection, please?
Sure.
What is your objection?
At least as to the video, unless I've missed something, I thought the hearing notice required that all exhibits needed to be submitted at least 1 week in advance. I saw this video last night at about 5 o'clock when it was shared with me by Attorney Anderson. I think if we all have to play by the rules, then we all have to play by the rules.
Well, I understand, we did ask all exhibits be submitted a week ahead of time, but you have had the opportunity to review the exhibit. And, I do want to remind everyone, this is an administrative proceeding. It's not, a group of attorneys. So, we allow some leeway in recognition of that. So I will allow it.
Can I Can I pull it up and have it shared
Yes.
appropriately? Okay.
Please.
Okay, it's not going to work that way. Let me pull it up a different way. Second. Hold on, let me pause it and attempt to get the screen share back. Okay.
Could you describe what this video is?
I can't hear you.
Oh,
Should I keep playing it, Attorney
it's a-
Stiber, or?
So there's no sound with the video?
I'm hearing sound, but I'm not sure I can get you guys to hear the sound. I will make sure that you, Attorney Stiber, and Commissioner Cahill receive a link to the video so that you can view it on your own.
Great.
Okay, thank you. That will be as Respondents Exhibit 2.
The statement that I want to cover there is that they say there's no electronic music, no amplified music. Is clearly visible that there's more than one singer, and there's speakers on the walls up in the air so that people can hear it.
Okay, do you have any other exhibits, Mr. Leach?
I think that's pretty much,
Okay,
I don't have any others there, do I?
right.
If I may, I did receive 2 additional exhibits from the remonstrance. I don't know if Mr. Leach wishes to use those additional exhibits.
Which ones are they?
I should probably send that to you in the chat, sir. As
Okay,
it's, I will send you a chat with the, hopefully.
Audrey, don't go away.
Okay. I sent you a chat with what they were.
Yes, ma'am. It was a map of the property showing where we're surrounded by, the neighborhood surrounds Hawk Ridge. If you wanted to show that, that would be fine.
Sure. Okay. Is this the map?
That's the map.
All right, that will be marked as Remonstrance Exhibit 3.
It just shows that the neighborhood is, the Hawk Ridge is surrounded by neighborhoods on all 4 sides.
Okay, and then did you have another final exhibit?
It's a legal notice, but I don't know which one it is. I apologize. You can show it. Like I said, I don't remember which one it is.
Commissioner, Attorney Stiber, would you like me to pull it up?
Yes.
Oh, that's the original notice with all the things they require.
Okay, it's just a legal notice of,
It's the one that was in the paper.
okay.
Sorry
Did
about
you want to submit that as an exhibit?
that. You can.
I'm-
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Cahill, do you have any further questions for Mr. Leach?
Hang on just for a moment, please. No, I think that's all my questions.
Okay, Attorney Stevens, do you have any questions for Mr. Leach?
Yes, thank you. All right, good afternoon, Mr. Leach.
Good afternoon.
Are you able to hear me okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. If at any time you either don't hear me or don't understand my question, please let me know. I'd be happy to rephrase it for you.
Thank you.
With respect to your concerns that you voiced that Hawk Ridge might become a bar, were you on this hearing when Agent Cola testified?
Yes, sir.
And did you hear him testify that this new permit that's before the commission is for beer only?
No.
Before you filed your remonstrance, did you look at the application itself to determine what exactly the application would allow?
Yes.
And you did not find that the application would only allow beer?
No, because further reading says it allowed spirits and alcohol of other brands.
All right, but you just heard Agent Cola testify, correct?
Correct.
And Agent Cola testified it would be for beer, correct?
Excuse me, say again?
Agent Cola testified that this would be for beer and beer only, correct?
No, all Agent Cola did say it had spirits and other liquors for sale.
No, all right, well, the record will speak for itself. All right, with respect to what you submitted as remonstrance exhibit number 1, do you have a copy of that in front of you?
I can pull it up if needed.
Thank you.
Exhibit 1. Remonstrant Exhibit 1.
Remonstrance exhibit number 1.
Sure.
That's not number 1.
All
This
right,
is what-
are you familiar with this document, Mr. Leach?
Yes.
All right, Attorney Anderson, if you can go to the first entry, please. Mr. Leach, can you see that blue bubble that says, hello, we are one of your neighbors? Can you see that from where you are?
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me what the date is on that?
July 19th,
And can you tell me the time, please?
3:35.
All right, may we see the next one, please? It says, hi, Beatrix. Can you see that one?
Yes, sir.
And what's the time on that?
3:58, 4 o'clock.
Okay. And the next one down says, I told them again. Can you see what the time is on that?
4:41.
4:41 p.m., correct? Mr. Leach, 4:41 p.m., is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next entry would be, yes, it's Jeff McHugh. Can you see that, Mr. Leach?
Yes, sir.
Date is July 19th. What's the time on that?
7:51.
All right, the next entry, where it says, yes, most musicians are acoustic. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
What's the time there?
8:15.
All right, may we see the next entry, Attorney Anderson? If you can keep going.
Let me zoom in.
Directly below that, I guess the time's not very, oh, yes, it is. Can you see there's an entry? Slow down. I think we just skipped a page.
Do you need me to go back up?
Yeah, right there. Can you see the entry that begins with, hi, Beatrix, we spoke with the band? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
All right, Attorney
sir.
Anderson, can you scroll down so we can see the time entry, please? Right there. Do you see the date and time there?
5:33.
5:33 PM, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I need for this exhibit, Attorney Anderson. All right, Mr. Leach, you indicated that you've expressed some concerns about the noise ordinance being violated. In fact, you made reference to the noise ordinance in Watertown, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And you're familiar with that noise ordinance?
Yes, sir.
And I think you also indicated that it was your belief and understanding that the zoning enforcement officer had actually gone to Hawk Ridge Winery. Is that correct?
Excuse me?
I think you indicated that it was your understanding that the zoning enforcement officer had in fact gone to Hawk Ridge Winery and took a sound reading. Is that correct?
He sent some men up to do the sound reading, yes.
All right, if I may, Attorney Anderson, one of our submissions is a 4-page document dated December 8th. It's a certification from the zoning enforcement official.
Just make sure I pull up the right one. Okay.
Yeah, that's the right one. Thank you. Attorney Stiber, this is one of my exhibits. It's been certified by the zoning enforcement official as an official document. I'd like to have it marked as a respondent's exhibit, please.
We will mark that as respondent exhibit number 2.
Thank you very much.
Correct. It's the same one.
Let me see.
It's the same exact one. And say that this is the off-season.
All right, if you'd be kind enough to show page 2 of that to Mr. Leach, please.
I have the same letter.
Mr. Leach, have you seen this letter?
I have the same copy.
All right, and am I correct that you indicated that based on this letter, it was your understanding that on November 7th, while a musical performance was going on, sound readings were taken by the zoning enforcement officer?
Right.
And am I correct that this letter indicates that in that one occasion when the zoning enforcement officer's staff was there was in fact no violation of the noise regulation? Is that correct?
You are correct.
All right, what I'd also like you to do, please, if we can get some assistance from Anderson, if we could see page 3 of this exhibit. Mr. Leach, if you could direct your attention to the part that's highlighted in yellow.
Yes, sir.
I believe in your earlier testimony, you referenced the noise ordinance, and I think you actually had the reference right to a T. You said it was section 28.2. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just take a look at this for a moment, please, and satisfy yourself that that in fact is the same regulation that you were referring to.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same one that you were referring to?
Yes, sir.
All right, for the purposes of the record, would you be kind enough to read this right out loud?
I'll have to read my copy. Hang on.
Sure.
I can zoom in if it would be helpful, sir.
I understand what you're getting at. That was a non-certified noise test.
Mr.
By
Leach,
the town of Watertown.
it's pending. I've asked you to read this into the record, please.
Sure, why?
You're testifying, I get to cross-examine you. I've asked you to read it into the record, please.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Why?
I'm running my case the way I'm running it. I'm asking you a question. You need to answer it.
I didn't think this was a court of law.
It's a hearing and you're under oath, sir, and you've made a complaint against my client. I have a right to represent my client zealously, which I'm doing. And if you refuse to answer my question, that's going to raise an issue for your own credibility. So you decide how you want to conduct yourself.
No, no.
Sure, I'll read this. I'll read this. This is a town zoning offer, and this is a one-time
No.
noise,
Mute yourself right now.
excuse me,
Kindly
one
read it
minute.
into the record, sir.
Excuse me,
No.
1 minute.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself.
I'm trying. Attorney Anderson, this is an administrative meeting, right?
I'm going to defer all questions to the hearing officer.
Mr. Leach, are you having a problem reading the paragraph that's being referenced?
I'm not, why should I read it when he knows what it says?
Okay, this is an administrative hearing, you know, we do, you know, try to allow some flexibility for non-attorneys, but you know, you've just simply been asked a question to read this paragraph. So I'm going to ask you to just please read this paragraph.
Fine, I will.
No.
No noise which is objectionable due to the volume, duration, frequency, or shrillness shall be transmitted outside the property from which it originates. In no case shall noise exceed 80 decibels during the daylight hours of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. any lot of time, and then lot line, as registered on the DBA network of sound level meter and associated octave band filter manufactured according to standards as prescribed by the American Standard Association. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leach. Now, with respect to the time that the zoning enforcement officer's staff was there, am I correct that it was prior to 10 p.m.?
Just say you really don't want to answer any further questions.
Say that again, sir.
Sure. You just said that the zoning enforcement officer's staff did in fact take a sound reading, and you acknowledge the letter dated November 10th that's part of this exhibit, indicating that on November 7th, a sound reading was taken at Hawk Ridge. Winery, correct?
On a single day, on a
Right, that
single
wasn't
event.
my question. My question is, on the day that the sound reading was taken, it was
Yes.
prior to 10 p.m., correct?
I'm sorry, you skipped out on that one. Say it again.
Sure. On the day that this sound reading was taken, it was prior to 10 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And based on the letter that's part of this exhibit, the sound decibel level was 70, correct?
Yes, sir.
So based on what you've just read into the record, 70 decibels is below the maximum allowable sound, correct?
On that day, for that
That's the only
for that
question.
venue off season.
That's the only question pending. The next question is, as you sit here right now, do you have any specific scientific evidence that the sound levels have exceeded what's required by law? Namely, do you have sound tests performed by a certified expert?
No, and neither does the town.
All right. With respect to the video that was just introduced and was marked as remonstrance exhibit, I guess that was 2. Do you know who took that video?
I do not.
Do you know when that video was taken?
I can find out.
But you don't know as you sit here today.
I don't, no, not today.
Did you watch that video?
I watched that video. Yes, sir.
And am I correct, sir, that it's very clear by looking at the video that that was done during daylight hours?
During daylight hours.
All right, with respect to what you have now introduced as remonstrance exhibit number 4, I believe that's the legal notice that you were talking about.
Yes, sir.
You earlier made a sound about, or made a claim about that video, indicating that the video was being introduced to show that loudspeakers were being used. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like you to take a look at the legal notice that you've marked as remonstrance exhibit number 4. You have your copy in front of you, sir?
No, I don't.
All right.
Pulling it up
please.
now.
Attorney Anderson?
Write it down.
All right, are you able to see that, Mr. Leach?
Yes, sir.
All right, with respect to this legal notice that has been marked as exhibit number 4, are you saying that the video that's been marked as exhibit number 2 is showing that there's a violation of the entertainment that's being, or that's subject to this legal
It's
notice?
not a data set. This is one example is not a data set.
Say that again, sir.
Sure. I think I understood you to say that that video showed, or you believe the video showed, that there was entertainment being performed that was in violation of the type of entertainment that's part of this legal notice. Did I understand you correctly?
Correct.
One example.
All right.
One example.
All right, that's fine. I'd like you to take a look at this legal notice. The first line says acoustics not amplified. And I really apologize. I'm not trying to sound like a wise guy, but do you know what the word acoustic means?
Means no electricity.
Okay, fair enough. The next item, comedians. Next item, concerts.
Concerts. How are you going to do a concert with no electricity?
That's a separate word, isn't it? It's separate from acoustic, isn't it?
Right? It's amplified music, right?
The next entry, disc
Amplified music, correct?
the next entry, disc jockeys. Do you know disc jockeys who perform without electronic equipment?
Exactly, we don't want that to happen.
So we don't want more electronics going on than we have now.
All right, Mr. Leach, may I just ask, is there somebody in the background coaching you to testify?
No, my daughter's here. She's a little ticked off, so she's venting.
All right, well, Madam Chair, I'm just going to ask that Mr. Leach not be coached and nobody in the background be testifying at the same time, please.
Yeah, Mr. Leach, you were sworn in. All testimony is under oath. And so it would not be appropriate for somebody to be
Okay,
coaching
I
you.
apologize.
And if she would like to testify, we can swear her in.
Okay. Can I put on hold for a minute? I'll be right back.
All right, I mean, I'll give it, we'll take a 2-minute break.
Thank you. I want to collect a piece of paper and we'll talk to my daughter.
All right, well, why don't,
Pause the recording?
excuse me, it's 1:59. Why don't we take a break till 2:05?
I'll pause the recording.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be right back.
Everything up. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, Attorney Anderson, are you recording again?
Just clicked it, yes.
Okay, before I turn it back to Attorney Stevens, I just want to ask Mr. Leach, does your daughter wish to testify?
No, we
Okay.
talked about it. She's okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Attorney Stevens, you were questioning Mr. Leach?
Yes, thank you. All right, Mr. Leach, back to the legal notice that's been marked as remonstrance exhibit number 4.
Yes, sir.
You see that one of the forms of entertainment that's listed is karaoke. Do you see
Yes,
that?
sir.
Are you aware of karaoke being done without electronics?
No, sir.
You see the next entry that says live bands. See that?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of live bands doing performances without electronics?
They have to have electronics, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The only information I have for you on the video is a Facebook post from 2018, and that was only to represent that the speakers and the live music are used. When I have the music and event schedule from Hawkridge that was in your flyer, that says a single outside guitars, double outside guitars, 1 player. Right away, it shows that there's more than 1 singer, 1 player in the band on their stage.
What is it you're referring to, Mr. Leach?
The video.
No, you said something about a flyer?
I have from your paperwork here, not your paperwork, sir, but from the DCPs. There's a list of live music events and schedule from Hawk Ridge.
All right, and since you're making reference to it then, Attorney Anderson, may we put that up as an exhibit, please? That is part of my submission. It's 3 pages in length.
Sure. 1 second.
That was the purpose of the video.
I'm sorry, which of your exhibits do you want, Attorney Stevens?
It was part of my submission.
Mhm.
It's 3 pages in length. And on the very top of the first page, it says 2020 live music and events schedule.
I see it. 1 second. Let me share it.
Thank you. All right, Attorney Steiber, I'd like to mark this as a respondent's exhibit. I have a witness who will explain it in greater detail, but it appears that this is what Mr. Leach was referring to. So I'd like to mark this as a respondent's exhibit, please.
It'll be so marked. I believe, are we up to responded? 3. Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Leach, are you able to see the document that's up on the screen?
Yes, sir, I have a copy.
Is this in fact the document that you were referring to when you said that the video was intended to show that the entertainment is something other than single guitars and pianos?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you look at the very top of page 1 of this document?
Yes, sir.
Can you see that it says 2020 live music and events schedule?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you're telling us that the video was from about 2 years ago?
From 18.
Okay, so clearly something in 2018 that took place is not something that is different from the schedule of 2020 when we're saying what took place in 2020, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions for this witness.
I have one other thing to say.
Okay,
On the cafe permit, I have a copy in my hand. It says manufacturer permit for spirits issued pursuant to subscription section 30-6 of this general statute as amended. So that it says that you can buy spirits, whether they're going to buy spirits or not, they have the capability of buying spirits. And that's where the problem comes in.
all right. Mr. Leach, do you have any additional witnesses you would like to call?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Steiber, if I can just make a note, because I can see it, there are 3 people currently joined as attendees. I don't know if any of those individuals are remonstrants who wish to speak. If they are, they can raise their hand and I'll be able to promote them to video and audio functions.
Thank you.
Okay, I do see a hand raised, so I'm going to promote Sue in just 1 second. Okay. Okay, Sue, I expressly authorized you to have video, so I don't know if you're on a computer or a phone with video function, but you should be able to access.
I can see you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, maybe that's a good thing.
Well, we do ask that everyone with capability use video.
I'm on an iPad. Can you help me get video?
If you sort of scroll to the bottom of the Zoom window, a menu will pop up on the bottom. And if you go all the way to the left, you'll see a microphone. You should see a microphone. That's your mute button. And then immediately next to that is a video camera. If you tap on the video camera, you should be able to turn on your video on provided your iPad has a front-facing video.
I believe it's on the back. The camera lens is on the back, so let me see. I have a menu, I have the 3 dots with a more, but I don't have the capacity to do anything with video. It's a minimize the webinar or disconnect.
All right, well,
Oh.
first of all, can you identify your name, who you are, what your name is?
Yes, Susan Crystallini,
Could you
Okay.
spell that, please?
CHRISTOLINI.
Thank you.
And were you sworn in at the beginning of this proceeding?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and it's your intention to testify now?
Yes.
Okay, then I
I sent
need,
you a request to start your video. That might help you. If there should be a little pop-up sent to you, maybe.
All right, I just pressed OK. Okay, is that me?
okay,
You're there.
we can see you now.
Okay.
Okay, I will ask you to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and again, your name is, I'm sorry, can you state your name again?
Yes, Susan Crystallini.
Okay, and are you one of the remonstrants?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And you can proceed with what you would like to state on the record.
Well, just for the record, I am a personal friend of Vinnie Genetto. My ex-husband was his close cousin. We vacationed together, and I really didn't want to be on this project, but I live right across the street, actually, from the winery. It's about 1,217 feet away, and the noise has gotten so bad over the past 3 years that I've lived here that, speaking with neighbors and people complaining that they can't sit in their backyard because of the noise, that I decided that I needed to get involved. This is nothing personal. I just want to protect my property and, help out the area. But on November 7th, I was up at the top of my driveway, which is right across the street from the winery property. I was raking leaves, I believe, or, cleaning up from fall. And a red, odd-looking truck pulled into the winery property across the street from me. A man got out, and I stopped and I watched him. He was probably maybe 30 or 40 feet away from me, and he had a handheld meter of some sort. And I believe that was the decimal. It had to be the person taking the decibel reading. That particular afternoon, there was entertainment at the winery. I believe it was the single man singing, and it was a low tone, and it was totally acceptable to me. It wasn't at all like what we'd experienced last summer. And I just wanted to state that. It's not the activity, it's just the intensity of the music. There have been times last summer when there was a larger band there, obviously amplified, and people outside screaming and clapping and yelling. And it just, you can't be outside and think you're in the country. You think you're, downtown Waterbury, near a concert venue. And I know that neighbors have complained repeatedly to the winery. I complained early on in person to Debbie Genetto. I told her it was pretty loud. This was when after they had first started. And things just got worse from there. And so we don't have any, the neighbors, we just don't have any confidence that they are going to have respect for us neighbors going forward, especially if they get liquor in there. On the license, Attorney Stevens, you mentioned something about they were only this was only a permit for beer. I've just looked at this 3 times and I don't see that. If you could direct us to where exactly it says they're just going to be selling beer, that would be greatly appreciated. Quite a few people are confused. That's about all I have to say. This is a great neighborhood with wonderful people. We have nice homes here. We'd like to keep, the value of these homes at what they are. But to tell you the truth, if I was to sell this house on And on a Saturday, I had a prospective buyer come with what's going on across the street. I'd never be able to sell this house. You know, which tells me that this house is not worth what I'm being taxed on. And that bothers me. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you for testifying.
You're welcome.
Okay, Attorney Stevens, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. Is it Miss or Mrs. Crystallini?
It's Ms.
Okay. Ms. Crystallini, thank you for testifying. I think you've indicated that you have filed complaints with the folks at Hawk Ridge.
Yes, I did personally. And then I know neighbors have done that also.
All right, and at least with respect to your own personal knowledge, when you've made complaints, have you found the people at Hawk Ridge to be courteous and respectful?
I didn't really receive on my one complaint, speaking with Debbie Janetto, I didn't really receive any, it really didn't require a response. It was more that we're looking for them to change their behavior. The other complaints, I know that text string that Beatrix started, I know they did respond for a while, and then there's the point where they just stopped responding altogether.
All right, and am I correct that all of your own personal complaints are with respect to any sounds that would be no later than 7 or 8 p.m.?
No, not any time period. On a Saturday afternoon, if you're having, a picnic in your yard, you don't want this going on across the street,
But that wasn't my question. My question is, your complaints are about sounds that are taking place prior to either 7 or 8 p.m., correct?
Well, up until the time that the winery closes, whenever they're open.
And with respect to your specific complaints, have you kept a log as to the times?
No,
And you're aware that sound readings were taken at least on one occasion, correct?
I know of one occasion.
Okay.
And we did receive a letter from the town saying that they intend to do more sound readings when the season opens next year.
All right. And at least with respect to the one sound reading that was taken, you agree that at the time of that reading, Hawk Ridge Winery was in fact in compliance, correct?
On that particular day, yes.
All right, thank you.
But that was an unusual day.
All right, thank you, Ms. Crystallini. I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you again for testifying. Attorney Anderson, has anyone else raised their hand?
I do not, hold on. I don't see anybody. There's a few people connected by telephone, so they're not going to be able to raise their hand. So perhaps if I can just unmute people on telephone one at a time, and if they wish to talk, they will let us know. Is that okay, Attorney Steiber?
Yes, I mean, it would be nice if we could swear everyone in at one time, but
Good point.
if we can't, we'll just go one by one.
Okay. So I see 860-274-4742. You are unmuted.
Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Elaine Tomlinson.
Okay, and do you wish to testify at today's remonstrance?
I can just make a statement.
No, you have to, any statements made have to be made under oath.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so state and spell your name again.
Yes.
My name is Elaine Tomlinson, Tomlinson.
Okay, and if you could please raise your right hand at this time. Do you
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can proceed with your statement.
I live further up the road from Susan. I'm across Lingfield Road, in other words. The winery is up the hill. We only hear it in our front yard because our back deck, thankfully, and I say this very thankfully, we do not hear the noise until we go into the front yard. When I hear it the worst is when I am doing my walks on a peaceful afternoon on the weekend, sometimes, not always, but sometimes. I get up to go just down the road a little bit, really, and it is so loud. First time it happened years ago, I thought, actually, I didn't know Ray, but I thought his house was having one huge celebration because I first heard it. I don't know what time I was, but I first heard it coming back to my home. And I thought, and I get to that area where I thought it was, and there was no cars other than their own. And then I realized it was coming from up on the ridge, up at the winery. It is so loud sometimes. I feel very, very bad for the people that have their backyards facing that, the winery. And by the way, I've been to the winery. It's great, but the sound level, I don't go on the weekends, never, only on the weekdays. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions for Ms. Tomlinson?
I do not. Thank you for testifying.
Okay,
You're
Attorney
welcome.
Stevens, do you have any questions for Ms. Tomlinson?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you again. Attorney Anderson, any other?
Yes. I see two other call-ins who are unable to raise their hands. So the first is let me unmute, 203-706-2752. I'm attempting to give you permissions to unmute. I'm asking you to unmute, but I think the phone might be muted.
They have the ability to unmute on your end?
I've authorized all the unmuting that I can.
Okay.
So,
All right, well, we're going to move on.
okay. The next one is 860-483-0373.
And again, you've given them the opportunity to unmute.
Yes.
Or you've done everything on your end. All right.
So that's all the attendees I see. There's a couple others, but no one's raised their hand, so.
Okay. All right, well, oh, okay. Is this?
Yes, my name is Michelle Nupo.
I'm sorry, can you state your name again?
Yeah, my name is Michelle Nupo.
And if you could spell that, please?
Sure. Last name is N as in Nancy, E as in Victor, E-U-X.
Okay, thank you. And you want to testify at today's remonstrance?
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, thank you. Okay, you may proceed.
The thing is, my husband and I, we moved here like maybe 22 years ago. And unfortunately, the vineyard is in my backyard. So I'm out of, excuse me, I'm a little anxious right now. But unfortunately, we love the vineyard. We don't have an issue with it. It's the noise. And what everyone has testified is the truth. You really can't go outside in your yard because the noise, you won't be able to have a normal conversation. And I think at the end of every day, I think we all agree that our house is the place we find most peace. It's our own space. And the reason we are here today is because of that. I really urge you to reconsider this noise. I've been to other vineyards. You don't see this. I just don't understand. And sometimes when we have everything, it's never enough. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Stevens, any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for testifying.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
No, everyone else who I'm seeing could have raised their hands or unmuted themselves by now.
Okay, thank you. All right, Attorney Stevens, I'm going to turn this matter over to you now.
All right, thank you. I would like as my first witness to call Vin Gianetto, who's the permittee.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, hang on. Mr. Gianetto was already sworn, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gianetto, for purposes of the record, please tell everyone your business address and what it is that you do there.
The business address of the winery is 28 Plunges Road in Watertown. I am the permittee for the farm winery.
On a day-to-day basis, what is it that you do at Hawk Ridge?
Well, there's obviously a lot to be done in Hawk Ridge. I guess, first of all, we're a permitted farm winery. We have approximately 60 acres of property. We have approximately 9 acres of vines planted on that property. So every day there's something to do, as we are a farm, there's something to do with the vines. There's something to do with the building, the maintenance, the making wine, personnel. We also obviously sell wine, and recently with our craft beer provisional permit, sell beer from Woodbury, manufactured by Woodbury Brewery in Woodbury, Connecticut.
All right, now on a day-to-day basis, with respect to complaints that would come in concerning noise, are you somebody who either A, gets the complaints, or B, is ultimately responsible for them?
I don't get the complaints that were passed on to pretty much our general manager and our system manager, who responds to all of these issues, whether they be whatever issues that occur.
With regard to any complaints that might have come in, what is your company policy in terms of dealing with the people that file complaints?
Well, we try to respond as quickly as possible and meaningfully.
With regard to the first issue of noise, we have introduced as an exhibit Respondents Exhibit 2, which was an exhibit that included a letter to you from Mark Massoud, the zoning enforcement officer, as a result of a sound reading taken. Can you shed a little light on that, please?
Yes, we requested that its sound levels be taken, and the town responded by sending up an individual. And what we did is we drove to every corner of the property to take those sound level readings. And obviously there was a report submitted with those readings.
I know we'll come back to that in a moment. You said that we requested the sound readings. When you say we, you mean Hawk Ridge?
Yes, you know what we don't want to ignore, our neighbors. We don't want to ignore, their concerns. So what we tried to do is, it was, obviously this occurred later in the year after our so-called season, but there was one nice weekend day that we said, oh, okay, we're going to have music that day. And we said, let's take a sound level reading and see where we are, because we want to make sure that eventually we wanted to make sure we complied with zoning regulations to start with, and help respond to these noise complaints that we've been getting recently. Obviously, we've been in operation since June 23rd, 2017. And we've always had music every weekend on a Sunday and a Saturday and a Sunday. On Saturdays, they go from 3 to 6, and on Sundays, they go from 2 to 5. And we've been doing this for 3 years, or more than 3 years, actually.
So with respect to the sound reading that was taken on November 7th, the point is that was a sound reading taken by the zoning official at your request, correct?
Correct.
And you understand that you requested the zoning official to come up and take a sound reading. You very possibly could have even found yourself in violation by inviting him out to your property if you were too loud. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you took a chance and you were trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, we don't want to take a chance. We just want to make sure that we respond and respond appropriately. If we are in violation, we would obviously work to correct that violation.
Now, with respect to the fact that the zoning enforcement officer had somebody go up there on November 7th of this year at your request, were there any other times where you heard from town officials telling you that your noise levels were too loud?
No, not from any town officials.
Okay. And all you've had was just the complaints from the neighbors?
Correct.
With respect to the town officials, do you have any plans as you go forward with regard to what you will or won't be doing with regard to noise?
Yes, we do have plans,
And
obviously.
And your plans are what?
Well, we want to take more sound readings in the spring and in the summer when our so-called season begins, to see where we are in terms of, are we violating the 80 dB level or not, and to make corrections appropriately if we are.
All right, but at least as of now, everything that you have indicates that you are in fact in compliance, correct?
Everything that we have presently.
But that being said, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're willing to be proactive and be sure that you stay in compliance. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
With regard to the permit application that's before the commission right now, what is your plan? What is it you look to do with this Connecticut Craft Cafe permit?
Sell beer along with our wine. That's the only thing we're interested in. There is no other, to my knowledge, there is no other permit allowed or granted by the state to sell just wine and beer. This is, an all-inclusive so-called permit. And it obviously states that we could sell distilled liquor from, manufactured within the state. It's not our intent. That's not what we are permitted by the town application that was submitted 2016, I guess, and approved.
All right, and if I might, Attorney Anderson, I would like to have marked as respondents exhibit, I guess it would be 4, something that's part of my submission. It's a document stamped by the town clerk of Watertown on February 9th, 2016. It's 1 page.
One second. Making sure I have the right exhibit and
That's the correct one. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have this marked as respondents exhibit number 4.
Right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gianetto, with respect to the document that's been marked as exhibit number, respondents number 4, do you have a copy of it in front of you?
I do.
All right. Would you please tell the commission members what this is?
This was an approval granted to, well, it disappeared, but it was approval granted to myself and my partner as an applicant to create a farm winery / brewery.
And this is the original permit that allowed you to open up the business that is currently known as Hawk Ridge Winery, correct?
Correct.
All right, and for purposes of the record, the main body of this document begins with the words, "The Planning and Zoning Commission." I'd like you to read that into the record, please.
Planning and Zoning Commission at a regular meeting held on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016, voted to approve an application from Vincent Gianetto and John McHugh for a text amendment to the Watertown zoning regulations, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 2, Language and Definitions, add to Section 2.3 Definitions, Farm, Winery, Brewery, add to Section 12.4 Table of Permitted Uses, and structure is resident in a residential district R70 permitted farm, winery, brewery. Weddings or private party events at a farm, winery, brewery in excess of 250 people should be subject to a special permit. Effective date of the text amendment to zoning regulations to be February 27, 2016.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gianetto. Attorney Anderson, we could take that down now, please. So, Mr. Gianetto, what you've just read into the record is the zoning approval that you obtained back in 2016, and it's that zoning approval that you're operating under right now, correct?
Correct.
And the zoning approval is for purposes of basically wine and beer, correct?
Correct.
So although the Connecticut Craft Cafe permit might possibly allow somebody else with such a permit to use or to sell what we generically refer to as hard liquor or distilled spirits, that's not part of your plan, is it?
It's not part of our plan, nor is it part of the acceptance by the town to allow us to
That
do
was my point. It's not part of your plan. In fact, it's not even allowed within your zoning permit, correct?
Correct.
All right. So on a day-to-day basis, as you go forward, what is your typical operation?
Normally, this is an unusual year, obviously. Normally, we have wine tastings that we allow. This year, we did not. And we sell wine by the glass, wine by the bottle, and we were able to sell a beer with our provisional license, as I stated before, manufactured by Woodbury Brewery in Woodbury, Connecticut.
All right, now, prior to receiving your provisional license that allowed you to sell beer, so just when you're operating only as a winery, were you ever placed on notice by the Liquor Control Commission that you were in violation of your farm winery permit?
No.
During the period of time that you had the provisional Connecticut Craft Cafe permit this past summer and in the fall, were you placed on notice by the Liquor Control Commission that you were in violation of any of the requirements, rules, regulations, whatnot, as to that provisional permit?
No.
With regard to your zoning approval that's been marked as Respondents Exhibit number 4, you are in fact allowed to have weddings or private parties or events, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What are some of the types of events that you have at Hawk Ridge Winery?
Oh, several different types of events. We might have a wedding rehearsal parties, or we have anniversaries celebrated. We also allow several charitable organizations to use our facilities, Crime Stoppers, Watertown Swim Team, so on and so forth.
Can
You
I
might
ask, let me ask a question on that. You've mentioned some either charitable or nonprofit organizations. You say you let them use the facility. What do you mean by that when you say you let them use the facility?
Well, normally we charge a fee to use our facility, our tent, our building, so on and so forth. With the charitable organizations that are in town, we don't do that. We just give it to them because they're, they're charitable organizations, and we allow them to raise funds for their charities, food bank, so on and so forth.
All right, so in essence, the facility fee for these charities is an expense of their fundraiser that they will not have to incur because you're waiving that fee.
That's true, yes.
Okay. So other than the November 7th visit, if you will, from the zoning staff when you asked them to take a sound reading, has anyone in town government indicated to you at Hawk Ridge Winery that you were in violation of any of the town's rules, regulations, or requirements?
No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gianetto, thank you. Only other question I have is, as you go forward with respect to any complaints that are made either by neighbors and residents on the one hand or town officials on the other, what is your intention?
Our intention is to comply, however that and wherever that needs to be done, however it needs to be done.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Gianetto. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Excuse me, Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, Mr. Leach, it's your opportunity if you have any questions for Mr. Giannetti.
I do.
No.
I'm sorry, I do. The sound test that you received, you requested that from the town?
I did.
And I also requested one from the town, but they told me I had to go to the Torrington Area Health District.
Well, I don't know any.
You don't need to answer that. That's not a question.
So, okay. My next question would be, the intent, what if the intent changes on this cafe permit? You change your intent to sell liquor instead of just selling beer and wine. What do you have to do then?
Well, I don't know exactly what we'd have to do, and then as I assume that I would have to go to planning and zoning and request that, but that would require a public hearing and so on and so forth. But that's not we do not want to sell alcoholic beverages other than wine and beer.
Okay, and I was told by Mark Massoud that the complaints about the noise were discussed with you on when they all came in. Is that true?
I'm not sure what you're referencing, sir.
The noise complaints from the neighborhood
Yeah.
that went to the town zoning office. Mark Massoud told me he had discussed them with you. Is that true?
That I don't believe that is true. No.
Okay, I'll talk to Mark then.
I don't recall that, so you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I did think of one question.
Commissioner Cahill?
Thank you. It was much earlier in this hearing that there was testimony from Mr. Leach that Mr. Gianetto was that people were afraid to complain because the permittee would have heard any appeal of a zoning denial for this application.
That is true.
But there would be no, but is it correct that there is no reason for zoning to review this because it is not changing the nature where he's also asking to sell liquor. Is that correct?
Correct. That was their personal views on, there was quite a few people that had personal views that they agreed with the petition, but they didn't want to sign because they had projects going on at homes and they didn't want to have any repercussions with that through the zoning division.
Comment about that, ma'am?
Yes.
No, just let me continue.
Okay.
But you did not apply to zoning to sell hard liquor because your testimony previously says that you would need, I guess you could call it a variance on your zoning in order, you can only sell wine and beer right now. But you can't sell hard liquor unless you go back to zoning to amend your 2016 approval. Is that correct?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes, I am, sir.
Yeah, that's probably the procedure.
Okay.
Okay, but I think you were about to speak to the issue Mr. Leach raised about, you said you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, I find that comment ludicrous, okay? I have been serving this town as a commissioner on Board of Appeals for many years, almost 10 years, I believe. And if anybody recognizes the way this works, and I have done this in the past, there's only been one person that's come to the Board of Appeals for a variance to put up a building on his property that was a neighbor of the winery. And as typically what should be done and what I did do is recuse myself from any vote. So for Mr. Leach to say that, he's unaware of the way the procedures, and I would challenge him to give me the names of the people who would say that, because it's absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. It's only one person who's come before the Board of Appeals and asked for a variance on a property and a building.
Well, I understand that. That's the perception of a few, and that's why I brought it up.
Okay, Mr. Leach, do you have any?
But that is unfounded.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Leach, do you have any further questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Giannetti. Attorney Stevens?
If I could just go back to Mr. Gianetto a minute, based on the comments made by Mr. Leach.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Gianetto, just so that we're clear on this. So you've been a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for how many years?
I believe it's just my second term, I believe. Each term goes for, I think, at least 7 years. Or
All right,
5.
and there's no question that as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you essentially have a code of ethics you have to follow. Isn't that correct?
We do. Yes.
And if in fact an immediate neighbor of your personal residence or your business had an application, wouldn't you be required in all those circumstances to have to recuse yourself and not even participate?
I would be.
Okay. And in fact, in this particular case, should any of these remonstrances who might not be neighbors, submit some sort of an application, wouldn't you still be required to recuse yourself?
State that again, I'm sorry.
Sure. Even if some of the people that are here as remonstrants today submitted some sort of zoning application, but they're not neighbors of yours, because they've taken a position opposite to you here today, wouldn't you still be required to recuse yourself?
Of course, yeah.
And would you in fact do that?
Yeah, I'm obligated to do that.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, even though, and again, I want to repeat this, even though the craft cafe permit might theoretically allow you to sell hard liquor, you specifically as to this site cannot do so because your zoning permit only allows beer and wine, correct?
That's correct.
And in the event that you decided that you wanted to sell hard liquor pursuant to this Connecticut craft permit application, you would have to go back and get zoning approval subject to a public hearing, correct?
Correct.
And do you, as you sit here today, have any plans of going beyond beer and wine and changing the current zoning permit?
No, not at all. If there was a permit that allowed us to just sell beer, that's the permit we would seek.
All right, thank you very much. I don't have anything else.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
Attorney,
don't have any other questions of Mr. Gianetto.
okay, do you want to call your next witness?
I do. The next witness would be Autumn Elmazi. Autumn, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Would you please let the members of the commission know if you're employed, and if so, where and what you do?
yes. I am employed by Hawkridge Winery. I'm the general manager at 28 Plunges Road, Watertown.
Would you please explain what your basic job responsibilities are?
Yes, I am to manage the staff. I take care of the social media, the website building, any regards to specials, music booking, events, etc., payroll, etc.
Do you also deal with customer complaints?
Yes,
You've been on this Zoom conference since the beginning, correct?
yes,
And you've heard Mr. Leach and the other remonstrants expressing their concerns about the noise. Is that a fair statement?
yes,
Have many, if not all of those complaints eventually worked their way to you?
only one.
Okay. One of the exhibits that the remonstrants put in is what we've labeled as exhibit number 1. It was really just a series of, I mean, to me, they look like texts, but I don't know. They're conversation bubbles of some sort. Have you seen that document before?
Yes,
And so you're familiar with it.
yes,
With respect to those complaints that all came in, am I correct that the complaints that came in were all for a variety of times, none of which were any later than perhaps 6 o'clock in the evening?
that's correct.
I'd like to direct your attention to what has been marked as Respondents Exhibit number 3. It's a list of events for 2020. Do you have that document in front of you?
Yes,
Can you tell the commission what that document is?
this is a document that I had created that I put together for 2020 for live music and events that we had here this year.
All right, so this is actually your work product, correct?
Correct.
And am I correct that this itemizes and lists both by date and time all the events that you had where there either was music or anything that might perhaps generate noise?
That's correct.
Am I correct that, and I stand corrected if somebody counts differently, but it appears to me that there are 53 line items here. And I'd like you to take a fast look, but it looks to me that out of all 53, only 3 of them went later than 7 o'clock.
Correct.
On August 21st, there was a beer and wine tasting that went to 9:30. On September 18th, there was jukebox bingo that went to 8:30. And then on October 9th, there was a beer and wine tasting that went to 9:30, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you also had a chance to look at the Watertown zoning regulation with respect to noise and sound. You had a chance to see that, correct?
I did.
And am I correct that the decibel restriction that drops from 80 to 55 comes into play at 10 p.m. at night?
That's correct.
So is it a fair statement that all of your events that would be generating music or perhaps some sort of sound or noise are done prior to 10 p.m., at least on the basis of your 2020 schedule.
That's correct.
It may be a bit early, especially in this age of COVID, but thinking ahead to 2021, since that's part of your responsibility, do you see any realistic chance that the general type of schedule that you had in 2020 is going to be any different?
No.
With regard to the few complaints of noise that worked their way to you, did you try to be as responsive to the complainants as possible?
Yes.
And in terms of actually addressing sound complaints or doing any remediation, that's not within your job responsibility, but rather that's more in the area that Mr. Gianetto is responsible for, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any reason to question his statement that he will continue to follow through?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Autumn. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, Mr. Leach, do you have any questions?
How would, just one question, how would you like to handle, how would you like us to handle any further noise complaints to you?
I would like them to be emailed directly to me rather than through Facebook messaging, because we don't always get a notification right away. So to my email would be best.
Okay, and to clarify a question from earlier, everybody at Hawkwood has always been polite.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have
Attorney
any other witnesses.
Okay.
Can I just make a note, Attorney Cyber? It looks like we have one more remonstrant who joined the line. She was having technical difficulties and was emailing with me, but she was just able to join. I
Okay.
don't know if she wishes to speak, but she is now currently on and has video and speaking rights.
Is this Beatrix?
Yes.
Can you, do you wish to speak at today's remonstrance?
She's muted.
I asked her to unmute. I've done all I can do.
Okay.
I just unmuted.
Okay. Ma'am, do you wish to testify at today's remonstrance?
Yes, I would like to.
Okay. And I assume you were not sworn in at the beginning of this hearing?
I just joined. I was calling in before. I heard some of it, but I would like to swear in, most definitely.
Okay. So can you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. If you could please state and spell your name.
It's a Beatrix, Beatrix, and the last name is Kassai.
Kassey?
No, Kassai.
AI, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, ma'am, what would you like to speak to?
I'm the one who sent in all those requests to Hawk Ridge Winery throughout the summer, asking them to lower the amplified music. So all of those correspondence that I sent in yesterday, they're all coming from me. First time when I contacted Hawk Ridge, they were very courteous. They promised they're gonna quiet down the music, but nothing really happened. And I sent in requests several times after that, and after August 1st, they stopped replying whatsoever. And I understand that they are stating that their music is acoustic, but that is impossible because I wouldn't be able to hear them in our backyard so loud that my husband and I cannot keep up a conversation because the music takes over our entire backyard. And I live on Linkfield Road, not directly across from the winery, a few houses down, but still the music just, it just takes over. I mean, whenever there's music, there's party going on at the winery, we cannot exists in our house. Even if I close the door, the windows, the music takes over. That's just wrong. I mean, this is our home, this is our house, and we have no peace. That's a huge problem for all of us, and that's why we're all complaining. Nothing against the winery, but the loud party music that's nonstop on the weekends, it's unbearable.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cahill, do you have any questions?
It was more Ms. Kasari just testified that effective August 1st of 2020, Hawkridge Winery stopped replying to your complaints.
Correct. I never received any response as of August 1st. And I
Hawkridge Winery, is that true?
There was a point that between my assistant and I, depending on the weekends, we rotate weekends, that there were no replies.
So you weren't working on those dates?
I would have to go through to double check the, the exact weekend that she was talking about, but yes.
If you look at the exhibit, all the dates are on the exhibit. Everything is, recorded on those messages back and forth. Unfortunately, after August 1st, it was only my messages sent to Hawkridge several times, all the way through October.
Then my question is, okay.
I requested them to lower the amplified music.
Right. But my question is from August 1st to Miss, your name again. Hold on. If Ms. Ansari can answer my question from August 1st of 2020 until October, did you not respond to any email complaints?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, the Facebook messages, correct.
Oh, you did not respond to Facebook messages, but if you got an email, did you respond?
I did not get any email. It was just through Facebook Messenger.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
May I say something?
You're welcome.
Yes.
The Facebook Messenger has a feature where I could tell if someone looked at the message that I sent. All of my messages were read, so someone must have seen them, but I never received any response after. You can verify that on your Messenger site.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cahill, any further questions?
No, thank you very much.
Attorney Stevens, any questions?
Yes. Good afternoon, Ms. Kasai. I understand you're joining us late. Were you able to hear any of the earlier testimony?
I was able to hear part of it. I was busy at work. Unfortunately, I couldn't join from the very beginning. I heard bits and pieces from the past half an hour or so because I didn't have any connection. I had to call in and I couldn't get any access to talk. So I did listen to some of them, some of the correspondence or some of the conversation, but I couldn't hit obviously the entire hearing.
All right, well, I'm focusing first on your comment that from, I think you said August 1st, nobody responded to your Facebook complaints about noise.
It's a messenger, yes.
No, just let me finish my question, please. Did you hear the part of Gianetto's testimony where he indicated that one of the things that he did was in November, he asked the town zoning officials to come up and take sound readings? Did you hear that part of the testimony?
I understand that, but
so my question is, did you hear it?
I'm not sure if I heard it.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do is, as an officer of the court, even though this is not a court hearing, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Gianetto's testimony was that when the zoning officials went and took readings in November of 2020, it was at the request of Hawkridge Winery. So I just want you to be aware that there's testimony indicating that there was, in fact, some response to all the noise complaints. In fact, it was by bringing town officials on site. Are you aware of that now?
I am, but may I have a question? Why was,
I don't think that she questions the attorney.
yes.
No, I don't think you get to question the attorney, so I'm bringing that
Can
to.
I just please, can I just place a question then? Not to the attorney, just in general. Why would that date chosen by the winery for the sound test?
All right, Ms. Kasai, do you have any further testimony?
Besides that, the loud music is ruining our lives, not really.
All right, Attorney Stevens, do you have anything further for Ms. Kasai?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you again for testifying.
Thank you.
Attorney Anderson, I just want to verify there's no one else.
I am not seeing anyone else. Let me just check my email. I'm not seeing any additional emails, no.
Okay, then at this point, I'm going to give Mr. Leach and Attorney Stevens the opportunity to make any final statements. If they would like to, you don't have to. It's up to you. I will start with you, Mr. Leach. Do you have anything you want to say at the conclusion now?
I appreciate everyone's time and information here, and I hope we can stay on track with each other and learn to stay strong and trust each other and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Attorney Stevens, do you have anything?
Attorney Stiver. Well, for starters, I think it's obvious that the local zoning approvals are all in place. With respect to the concerns that have been raised by Mr. Leach and others, I think it's very clear that the local zoning approval is for beer and wine only, and therefore, to the extent that there are any concerns by the neighbors, it will stay as beer and wine only because there is in fact an added layer of protection. Should Hawk Ridge Winery ever decide they wanted to go in a different direction, they would have to get zoning approval anyhow. So the neighbors would be protected because they would have that opportunity. But you've also heard Mr. Gianetto's testimony that they do not want to sell spirits. For purposes of the remonstrance, it is the remonstrant's burden to prove that there is not suitability of either the applicant or the location. With respect to their burden, I think it's a very high burden. I don't think they've met it. I would submit that as a very practical matter, suitability of the applicant and the location has effectively already been decided because of the fact that there's a farm winery permit there anyhow. I understand that this is a slightly different permit, but you've certainly heard all the testimony. The bottom line is that with respect to the noise complaints, which seems to really be the major issue, Hawk Ridge Winery has in fact been responsive, and it was Hawk Ridge Winery that brought the town officials on site. It was not town officials on site in response to public complaints. So there's no question that Hawk Ridge Winery is doing its best to be a good neighbor and will continue to do so. For that reason, I would submit that the remonstrance should be denied.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Stevens. So at this point, I just note for the record, it is 3:10 p.m. The commission will consider all the testimony and evidence that was given today in rendering a written decision. We try to get them out as quickly as we can. I can't guarantee a time frame. In the meantime, I do, the commission deals with remonstrances fairly regularly. And one thing we've learned is that communication is really important between the entity and the remonstrance. So we would encourage you to continue keeping the lines of communication open. And with that, I'm going to now close this hearing. Thank you all for testifying. And
do you want to stay on with me so that we could talk about the two hearings we had today?
Yeah, because once I leave, you're going to be kicked out of this meeting.
That's correct.
So
okay.
Thank you very
we'll need to
much.
coordinate
Thank you all
separately.
very much. We are closed.